Northeast Ohio employers face. I know at Cranes we hear it all the time from business owners. So let's talk a little bit about the issue of workforce development and training. Baiju, we know it's important to Northeast Ohio organizations, and especially those in biomedical fields and innovation, to recruit the best talent they can find. And often that means global talent and international students. What have you seen as barriers to finding and hiring the right talent for biomedical startups and companies?
So that's absolutely the case of any startup company, whether I think it's in biomedical or in any other field. You're looking to assemble the best expertise, ideally the best connected expertise, to give yourself the greatest chance of success. In terms of actually sourcing and hiring talent for companies that are in the biomedical space, clearly the visa-related issues is a significant challenge in terms of employing individuals who have been well-trained at oftentimes U.S. institutions and have the unique capabilities that could add to our team or any other startup's team, but can't get employment because we can't get the appropriate sponsorship in the visa lottery that occurs each year for the H-1B visa. So that is certainly a critical issue for us in terms of finding ways to hire the right individuals to continue to develop our technologies.
Have you seen any changes in recent months with the new administration?
No, I think the prior speaker said, well, that there's a lot of noise and a lot of fury in terms of discussions, but not a lot of change. And the change that is forecast it's not clear where it might end up.
Michelle, you're involved with Towards Employment, an agency that specializes in workforce development and training. How does the need for a skilled workforce in our region align with the global business goals of your clients? Are there connections between workforce and business goals that organizations might be overlooking?
There is certainly sort of rather 100% alignment between the workforce development and training and the business objectives. And I know you'll hear later this afternoon, or actually maybe in the next panel, some statistics for the region on these points, and the mayor alluded to them. What I would say is there's a lot of work being done in workforce development and training, both from the nonprofit side, the government side, and even, in fact, at our clients, which would be the international or even the large companies, who are innovating and thinking about new ways to recruit, retain, and get, in particular, the technical skills in the door and retained. And the challenges that they face are really fairly numerous. The one I like to focus on is really the connectedness between those organizations engaged in workforce development, connecting with the employers. The employers are, in my experience, because they're my clients, out there and ready, and we're just missing maybe the connection in the technical side. When we talk about sort of the advanced degree population, we have our feeder schools here in Cleveland. We're blessed to have that as a legal employer. They are still our largest pipeline, would be the local law schools. And in fact, if you go outside of Cleveland, you hear from companies like Medtronic in Minnesota saying, after the University of Minnesota, the next number of people we hire are the engineers out of Case Western. So, we have talent here, we're growing talent here and retaining it. I just see a bit of a connection issue, particularly in the skilled trades area, and I think we'll hear about that a bit later today also.
Right, and that is a perfect segue to Jack for the next question. Jack, Juergens is a leader in advocating for manufacturing and workforce development. Can you share your perspective on talent development and what the region needs to do better in terms of training local residents for in-demand positions, as well as bringing in new talent?
Well, it's going to have a slight bias towards manufacturing, as you might expect, because that's what I bring to the table. But I think that we are still missing that excitement about what it takes to make stuff, and that make stuff means going into the medical community, means converting it into products and processes. A lot of people don't even realize that the Cleveland Clinic has one of the top manufacturing facilities inside the body of the Cleveland Clinic. They have a complete machine shop that actually runs and produces products out there, and I think that's an aha moment for a lot of people to say, wait a minute, if they care enough about what it takes to convert the knowledge into a product, why shouldn't the rest of us be looking at that same thing? So we're kind of like, and I'm dating myself, Victor Kayan, we bought the Razor Company. We were so committed to training and education, we started our own education company about the skills learning. And we started a company called Tooling University because we believe that the online, the hands-on, those skills, those sometimes get missed in the immigration process. We talk about the very high knowledge person that we want to encourage, but we also want to encourage that mid-level talent person to come to our country and be part of our solutions. And so we did that, and today it's available in English, Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Chinese, all out there to try and encourage that mid-level person, because ultimately we can start the greatest companies like Beju is doing, but ultimately you need that next tier to actually support it. So that's what we're committed to out there.
Dr. Zine, why is it important not just for the Cleveland Clinic, but for other Northeast Ohio organizations to welcome international newcomers and talents?
So, I mean, the answer is probably the question can be answered in a couple of different ways. I would first say from a Cleveland Clinic point of view. So we are very interested for many reasons in continuing our international practice and having people come to us, not to Mayo Clinic and not to somewhere else for medical care. We have seen patients last year only from over 130 different countries come to us for medical care. But that piece of business is not purely financial. Of course, there are financial incentives in it, but it affects our reputation. These are studies have been done here in the United States showing that when people travel abroad to your medical center to be cared, that improve your reputation, improve your exposure to different type of diseases. So it's a practice we care about. So when I travel and try to talk to people responsible for patients to travel to come to the United States and say, what are the criteria by which you decide where your patients need to go, or how do you go about it? So there are a few factors, but one consistently, I would say, the most important factor is diversity of the community and how welcoming communities are to international travelers into their. So there is an important gain for us to make by Cleveland being an international city, by being a city that welcomes international travelers. And that doesn't have to be only immigrants. People often, they confuse refugees with immigrants, with travelers, with so on. I would say it's all of it. I think that will significantly improve the diversity of the city, and accordingly, we as a local business will benefit from it, and I suspect all my colleagues here will benefit from it as well.
Peter, how does management at Intercontinental prepare and train employees who may not necessarily be sensitive to international issues to serve multicultural clients?
I think that's one of the things that I pride myself on, is probably one of my legacies everywhere I've lived, that I want to make sure that I leave behind a team of people who are better trained, better skilled, and have moved up the ranks a couple of notches in my time working with them, which is no different than working here in Cleveland. I think as a company or as a person, my role is to hire for the attitude and train the skill. What we do intrinsically in hotels is not brain surgery. Sorry, doctors. Right? It's our skills that we need can be trained, but I cannot train an attitude. Right? So we hire global staff. A lot of our new employees, we have a program here called the IHG Academy. And the IHG Academy is a program where 4 times a year we take in people who don't have a job, who maybe have come over from Syria, or they're unemployed, or they're just looking for an avenue to do something. And we have this 6-week program where they come in and they find a skill at the hotel that might suit their needs. It's been a very, very successful program for us. We find that we have a lot of people coming in also from the Catholic charities and other international organizations who feed this program for us. So that's a very, very successful program here. We do some other trainings. The company has gone through a program we call China Ready. We've seen a very large increase of Chinese coming out and traveling the world. They're experiential travelers. They want something different. So when they come to Cleveland, you know, they want us to recommend things that we're not going to, you know, they're not going to read in your tourist book, right? So they know the Cavaliers are here, but it's what else can we provide them, right? So we've done a lot of training with our concierge to make sure that, you know, they go back to their cities in China and really talk about the experience that they had in Cleveland. But even simple things like, you know, how you hand out a business card, right? In the US, we'll throw the business card on the table, here's my card, right? That would be considered extremely offensive in China. So making sure that we have held circle of trust, we hand over the card, and it shows that person that we understand who they are, we understand their culture, right? So if we've got somebody coming in, we make sure we don't point with a finger, it's an open hand, right? We don't point with our foot, right? A lot of these things can be considered offensive in other nationalities unless we teach our employees those basic skills, then they're not going to know. They could easily offend a traveller unknowingly, right? Which is something that we don't want. So anytime we have a delegation coming in, you know, Dr. Nazir will tell us, hey, I've got a minister or somebody coming in from this country, we quickly make sure we go through protocol and etiquette, and we do a quick training to make sure that we cover all the basic points to make them feel more welcome. But then we also celebrate our cultural diversity in-house. We have theme days within our cafeteria where we do different foods. We also, our staff party last year, we did a world theme where everybody came in the national costume. It was the most colourful party I've ever seen. It was absolutely unbelievable. But again, and all the employees get in, and they were all really excited about seeing everybody in their own national dress. It was in this ballroom, it was just amazing. So we do a lot of things for managers to make sure that we really embrace our culture and our cultures.
Kind of dovetailing off of that, Dr. Z, what about in the clinic? What do you do in terms of training of your staff when they are with multicultural patients?
So I would say first, the clinic has been lucky. In fact, I brought a couple of data points here, but one of which is really fascinating as we went through our medical archives, that people from across the globe had started coming to Cleveland Clinic back in 1921, the year we opened to business. So we had people coming from Tasmania, Europe, whatever. A few, much fewer than they do now, but there's a history behind it that over time built, and accordingly we had to build our own staffing. So the staff at the Cleveland Clinic, from physicians to nurses to administrators, is quite diverse, and I honestly don't remember the number, but within my own department, the Global Patient Services, I think we have individuals from something like 20 or 30 different countries that work for us. So that's one thing that's helpful. Secondly is we hold the training to our staff, a cultural sensitivity training to our staff that started in small groups. I used to do that same class for the leadership at the clinic at some point, especially when we embarked upon the Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi project. So I would spend about 4 hours going over Middle East cultures and challenges and so on. Prior to that, we have done a course that we started at Mayo Clinic when I was there, but adapted it here at Cleveland Clinic, in which we talk about spirituality and healthcare, how different traditions impact people's ability to deal with death and dying and major illnesses and so on. So we have a formal training programs based on what the job specification of individual that they may go through. Having said all of that, I do think we are still behind where we should be, and I do think that we need a much larger, probably clinic-wide cultural sensitivity training to some degree. Like I said, we have been shielded by the fact we have a lot of international employees, physicians, nurses, and so on, but eventually we do have to have it a more formalized process